This month we're going to go over relationship. Life on planet Earth is about relationship. The relationship with all of life on planet Earth. Mineral, animal, plant, human, angelic, our relationship with God. So we're going to go over that this month, and when we begin to understand our right relationship with life, with all of life, a lot of times we change our patterns. And we're in the process of growing and evolving into a greater expression of God's love on planet Earth. So, relationship with life. Relationship with all of life. And I'd like to share something from Spirit. The wise are said to be the ones that hold the pulse of earth. They gently guide the slumbering souls into the great rebirth. Each step leads to our being, our path, the greatest gift. The dawn, our friendly wake-up call to free us from the fall. The tired eye begins to shine. The mind begins to leap. Beyond our dreams of yesterday, no longer will I sleep. No longer when I sleep. When we begin to wake up, and the wise ones, we could think of those as those that are spiritually aware. And there's spiritually aware people on our planet, and there's spiritually people and beings aware in the ethers around us. And the spiritually aware are those that are gently guiding us until we wake up. And the operative word is gently. We're never pushed by Spirit. We're gently guided. And then it's up to us to choose. Our mission statement, the journey of life is to know oneself. The path begins in the heart. So if the journey of life is to know oneself and the path begins in the heart, that brings it home, doesn't it? To begin to understand who we are, and then to have a relationship with that unique child of God. And sometimes that's where we get lost. We get lost in the world. We lose ourself. We lose our uniqueness to the world. And then we don't even live the life that we were born to live. The life that's screaming inside of us for certain experiences and opportunities. But we've listened to the outer. We've listened to the world. And what happens when we're walking through life and we do follow our guidance? You know, this is like with the divine gift to hold that courage, is when doubt comes in. Has anyone ever made a choice in their life and they start walking through it and then all of a sudden this doubt comes in, gosh, did I make the right choice? Am I doing the right thing? And when doubt comes in, that begins to separate us from God. That begins to separate us from Source. That begins to separate us from our true self. And so as White Eagle said, to be courageous in your life, and you'll be able to do all that you dream and desire to do. But we got to have that relationship to begin to understand, you know, that we are the unique children of God on earth. You know, our higher self, our divine Christed I Am presence is gently guiding us. And if we can begin to acknowledge that we are children of God, that we are Spirit, and then seek that counsel, begin to seek that inner guidance, the higher guidance, begin to listen, to begin to respond to that guidance. It's a choice that we all have every day. We can be open to that divine flow of God's love, or closed, open to the worldly way, repeat the patterns. I want to read a chapter, or a couple verses in the Aquarian. This is chapter 149. Jesus and the disciples are on their way to Jerusalem to the Passover, so it's about 10 days away, and they're making their way across country, and they're coming into Jericho. And as they entered Jericho, a wealthy publican came out to see the Lord, but he was small in stature, and the throng was great, and he could not see him. A tree, a sycamore, stood by the way, and he climbed up the tree and found a seat among the boughs. When Jesus came, he saw the man and said, "O Zacchaeus, make haste, come down. I would abide with you this day." And Zacchaeus came down and joyfully received the Lord. But many of the stricter sect called out and said, "For shame, he goes to lodge with Zacchaeus, the sinner and the publican." And Jesus did not care for what they said. He went his way with Zacchaeus, who was a man of faith. And as they talked together, Zacchaeus said, "Lord, I have ever tried to do the right. I give unto the poor half of my goods. And if by any means I wrong a man, I right the wrong by paying him fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Your life and faith are known to God. And lo, the benedictions of the Lord of hosts abide with you and your house." Zacchaeus was a man of low stature among the stricter sects, the more aware. But Zacchaeus was a faithful man. Zacchaeus did the best he could do where he was at in life. He was a faithful man and an honest man. And he held to his belief and he held to his life. He didn't do what everyone thought he should do. He did what he could do. He didn't doubt. And it's symbolic of, the Christ connecting with him and him going to the Christ to be fed, to be recharged, to be strengthened once again in his walk. Because the outer world was telling him he was bad. He was less than. But he had his life to live. And he was doing it with honesty and with faith. And I don't think we're asked too much more than that in any of our lives. In your interactions and dealing with people, don't you just hope that they're honest and faithful to themselves? To thine own self be true. Then surely as the night follows the dawn, thou canst be false to no man. See, when we know who we are, we can be who we are, and then that's our gift to our brothers and sisters on planet Earth, to mankind, and to God. Knowing who we are, to have that relationship with self. Metaphysical, we say meta, beyond the physical. Meta is the other half. We see physical and then spiritual. To be able to balance our physicality and our spirituality in our daily life, in our walk. To be honest with our fellow man, to be faithful to our inner guidance, and then to walk and let it go, and to not worry and not doubt, because that separates us from Source. To the degree that we come into conscious realization of our oneness with God, do we actualize the power of God in our lives? We turn to God. We open to God. We allow Spirit to flow through us. And then the gifts of Spirit can flow through us. When I was a little boy, I grew up in a big family and extended, and grandmas and grandpas and stuff like that. And my one grandma, well, both my grandmas lived in this town about 30 miles from us, and we'd get to go see them every couple of weeks. 30 miles back then was a long time. You had to hitch the horses up. Today, 30 miles, you're going to the movies. No big deal. So we'd go to my grandma's house, and I'm a Pisces. I am a dreamer. And you can imagine a little kid Pisces. I wasn't on the planet. Oh, this is just such a beautiful, magical place. Well, I'd go to my grandma's house, and the next door lady, there was an older lady, Polish and German neighborhood. I grew up in all this. It was just cool. And so I go to my grandma's house, and this older lady, a grandma type lady too, she lived next door. And she had this most beautiful, it's like a lily pond in her backyard. Up north they got lily ponds and stuff. And so she had, and there was an artesian well on her property, so you can just stick a pipe in the ground, because it's not that deep, and then the water runs out. It was just cold water. So she had this pipe in the ground, and so that But water was feeding into this pond. It was a beautiful lily pond. And I just go in there and she would let anyone come into her yard. This is what was cool. So the pond, it's got the lily pads on it. It's got fish swimming in it, frogs, painted turtles. And then around it, the rocks around it, and then all the flowers and just the ferns and stuff, and then the bumblebees and the butterflies and dragonflies and birds. Do you get the picture? This is like heaven on earth, and it's just creation and it's life. And there's this loving, sweet grandma letting us kids go over there. There's no gate, keep out. It's like, come on in. You just go in there and sit for hours sometimes, just daydreaming. And it was just such a beautiful place. And then the water would just overflow the pond and then continue down a little meandering into this creek at the back of the property. And so it was just like this continuation of life. You know, I'm just going to be in the flow. And then, one spring, she died. And a young couple bought the house. And one of the first things they did was they put a spigot on that pipe and turned the water off. And the lily pond dried up. And the lily pads died, and the animals left. And all this beautiful oasis, this beautiful garden, just died. And she wouldn't let us come in the yard anymore either. The new people wouldn't let us come in the yard anymore. And it's just understanding the flow of life and the choices that we have in life to tap in and to allow that love of God, that life force to flow through us wherever we're at, whatever we want to do. And then it can just bless everyone. And I'm here to tell you that blessed me. I just love nature. And like our garden up there, it's a work in progress, but it's a beautiful place to just go and sit sometimes. Because you'll be able to commune with the angels and nature spirits. That's its intention. And you know what? There is a difference between your life and my life and the life of that lily pond. Because that lily pond doesn't have a say if the water gets turned off or turned on. The outer controls it. We have within us the opportunity to turn on the flow of spirit through our lives. See, we turn it on and turn it off all the time. We usually turn it on when we really need something. Something that's really important to us. But when we open up that spigot and allow Spirit to flow through us, to strengthen us and empower us in our creation, the beauty that we're going to give to the world, we begin to change. But we have to turn it on. We have to turn it on. And that's the relationship that we can begin to grow now. As we begin to marry the physical and the spiritual. See, it doesn't have to be one or the other. We've been moving through duality and polarity for thousands and thousands of years. But now we're all beginning to understand oneness, the oneness in all. God, our Father in heaven, the Father of the human race. See, we all are spirit. We all have that spark of God within us. And sometimes that needs some watering. Open up to the greater so we're not just this voice out in the wilderness, a little spark. We open up so that our light can grow. And that light moves through us. And then that light empowers our physical, unique expression to have presence on our planet. To be the benevolent gardener, giver of life to the little kids or to anyone. Or to turn the spigot off and just worry about me. I don't have time to keep up with that lily pond. All it does is make more mosquitoes in my backyard. You see?